engaging and interactive session. ICC extends its sincere gratitude to all the supporting organizations for this forum in the summit. This is supported by the Ministry of Power, Government of India, knowledge partner Terry, gold sponsor Hainer Technology Private Limited, silver sponsor Tyson Group Ure India Private Limited, Anycovery, Taurus MKs, and Positronics, and corporate sponsor NMDC Limited. It is a privilege and honor for the Chamber to associate with you on this platform. Request all of you to kindly put your mobile phones on silent mode. And now may I request Chair ICC National Expert Committee on Energy, Mr. Anil Razdan, to give the welcome address. This is just to inform you that Srimati Abha Shukla, Additional Chief Secretary Energy from Maharashtra, she will be here around 4:30. So, please be here in the hall. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Serene. And very warm welcome to colleagues and friends who are assembled here for this session of green tech and looking into the future, more or less, what we should be doing in terms of technology and what is a new vision that is there before us. Well, it's been some decades now since I started my working career into energy. It all started in the year 1989 and it's been continuous, starting with atomic energy and then getting on to conventional power and then into petroleum and then back to power. And I can say that each segment of energy that we're talking about is essential. But energy is such a vast field that beginning with human beings' energy, going on to solar energy, and in between all the various elements within us, that the focus keeps changing, but the need remains the same. The focus will keep changing on availability of the energy resources and some concerns like the climate concerns. What we are seeing increasingly is that the targets that we had set for ourselves for energy transition in view of global warming are becoming more imperative. And this year, in the last few months, those of us particularly living in North India have witnessed visible changes in the climate. What was predicted when I first started reading into this area in 1993-94 was that there are going to be drastic climate changes, possibly rises in sea level, etc. Climate change you're already seeing. We are seeing in Northwest India one of the worst kind of monsoon seasons that we've seen, destruction. At the same time, because of global warming, the targets that we've set for ourselves in terms of sources of energy, which are galloping. Need is galloping. The sources are we at research within us. I was talking to a few friends a few minutes back outside who were participating in this session, that there was a time when it was the era of the mechanical engineer, the power engineer, then the nuclear engineer. And now I feel it's the era of the chemical engineer, that he's got to break these compounds that we have into more useful elements, more benign elements, through processes which are equally benign. The resources are there, even what we perceive as dust is a handicap of our perception, not the wealth that lies within it. Be it beach sands, be it the mineral ores, or what some of the participants here who are talking of getting hydrogen, getting other forms of energy out of what we throw away or useful chemicals, even from coal mining. The minerals, the elements have to be put back. As I said, it's a game that is going on changing between different areas of specialization of energy and technology. Our session today will be addressed by people who want to talk on hydrogen derivatives, on other aspects like semiconductor landscape. Well, if you're going to transit into solar power or renewable power, you need mastery of that technology. You need a mastery of the storage technology, because it's not enough to have money. If Sethji collects a lot of money, he should be able to store it somewhere or deploy it usefully somewhere. Now, that is what is, in fact, when you're turning to natural resources for energy conversion, you need to work on the storage side, which we have ignored. We're suddenly now talking of pump storage, an idea which was prevalent when I was a joint secretary in the Ministry of Power, but forgotten for a while, picking up again, because you need bulk storage. You need to restudy some of the components of preparing for your solar revolution, lighter materials for wind generation, turbines of a different kind for hydro generation, micro turbines, smaller streams to be tapped, which we were ignoring. So it's the little energy source which has to produce that sigma that you need if you're getting into that kind of an energy transition mode. How independent will buildings be? A structure like this, which has a total glass fascia, why shouldn't that fascia be converted into an electricity generator? That is what we've got to look at. Because when God created the human body, every little square centimeter of our physiology has some functional. Nothing is non-functional or dysfunctional. The day it becomes, we're declared handicapped as far as that is concerned. So that kind of an approach, I think, to technology, to decision making, and further to employment has to come into play. We've got to train that future army of young minds, scientists, technologists who will be handling future technologies. Retrain the present generation, which is working on some of the older technologies to reorient themselves. Something which we lack in India is continuing education while you're at work. This is what distinguishes some of the most advanced Western civilizations from us. That people learn as they work and earn. Here we tend to stagnate. Now, that is the kind of knowledge, a continuous curiosity into the future and into better alternatives. That, I think, has to be the search of every, not only young, but every Indian. And of course, in this, we need foreign partners, we need technology, we need capital. And if we learn to deploy capital well, you will find global investment in your technologies and institutions, because without capital, business cannot move forward. And when we're meeting under the aegis of an institution like the ICC, it is not only technology, it is return on investment that a businessman is interested in. And that is something that each one has to be conscious of, that whoever puts his money wants his return back, just as you want in your investment. And that will require a constant picking of ideas. The financial session that was going on immediately before this was talking of a generational shift in the investment ideology of different generations, even intra-generation, not only intergeneration. That where did my father invest? Where did I want to invest? Where does my son want to invest? Where does my grandson want to invest, and how? Now that is a living organism, and that is what we want the energy sector and technology to be. There are speakers here who are going to speak to us on how what we consider waste is actually a source of energy, and what we consider as a frontier of technology may be a past milestone. So thank you very much for coming to this session, and I thank old colleagues like Mr. Saxena, who's here. He's one of the most diligent colleagues that I had when I was in the Power Ministry, and often looking at him working so diligently, I wish I could have quoted that to my wife when she asked me, why do you come back from office so late? So I could tell him that there are people like Mr. Saxena who's still working there. Now he continues to work even now, very intelligently and diligently and usefully. And we will have Mr. Siddharth Durayarajan, who represents ideas of the future. And I was seeing on the screen here Dr. Prahlad Rao and some others, because I happen to be a patron of an organization where Prahlad Rao is a member. And it's all thanks to people like you. You should keep generating ideas, otherwise this thing will rust. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Razan sir. A very fitting welcome address for the session. And now may I request our knowledge partner and Senior Director from TERI, Mr. A.K. Saxena, to kindly give the address on the theme. I'll change that for the next event.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. What to say when Mr. Razdan is there as the first speaker, and such a wonderful opening remarks he gave. A panoramic view starting from his days in various energy segments, nuclear energy, oil, petroleum, natural gas, power. And it was my pleasure and privilege to be as a member of his team when he was Secretary of the Ministry of Power, and I was a director therein. Lot of learning, lot of pleasant, happy memories. After the event, I will tell, he gave an example. It's being recorded. I will tell an incident that what he told me. Of course, I can say that. One day he told me, when I go back in the night, you are here. When I come back in the morning, you are here. So should we get a cot for you here in the office? so, so that is the type of person he is. And I think it was a pleasure to be working in his team and learning so many. My great learning has come from the Central Electricity Authority, Ministry of Power, and the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. And the post-retirement, I am with the TERI for the last 9 years or so. So I think it's our pleasure and privilege to be part of this summit and contribute a knowledge paper on the key technologies which are going to have a very significant role in the coming years. Now, the report what we have prepared as a knowledge paper, it was not prepared only with the intent that we look into the technologies, these 4 technologies, where they are headed to. But apart from that, are we having the skilled workforce to be able to reap full benefits from these technologies? We have tried to sort of go deeper into each of these 4 technologies: green hydrogen, waste to energy, the semiconductor technology, artificial intelligence, and data centers. In many of these areas, we will find that the gap in the skill level what is required is either high or very high. The quantum of skilled workforce we require is really very, very significant and large. And wherever we go and we interact with various people, everybody says that there is a shortage of skilled workforce. So that is what is the main point which we have tried to look at in this. Now, we all know that technology development and progression is a continuous process, and it is driven by 2 factors. Either it is a demand pull technology development, or it is a knowledge push based technology development. And both these factors work sort of invariably simultaneously in various segments. If there is a demand, naturally the technology development has to be there. And the research is a continuous process. People keep on researching, they bring on reaching the next levels, and the technology development also takes place. But we require a large ecosystem for this. We require the supporting policies, regulations, finance, human capital, everything is required. Now, the technologies, they in themselves cannot suffice. It is the people who man the technology, people who design, install, commission, operate, and maintain. So we require human resources or a skilled workforce across the chain. And that is what is the requirement that one he has to look about. Now, what we have seen in this report, that unless we have a trained pipeline and the talent which is ready to take up jobs in the industry, I think we will find it difficult to manage them. We have very, very ambitious targets, and we are nowhere there where we have to be there. Now, from that perspective, one can say that India already has some of the foundations which are there. The Skill India mission is there. The upgradation in ITIs is there. There are emerging centers of excellence which are there. But I think we need quite much more than this, because the speed and scale at which we have to be having the skilled manpower, that is extremely important. Now, industry academia partnership, I think we have been listening about it ever since we were students. It has improved, but I think it needs to improve very, very substantially without any doubt. So with all this in mind, we have sort of 3 decisive shifts we have suggested in the knowledge paper. One is that the human resource development should be integrated with every national mission and initiative. We find whatever missions and initiatives are there, human capital development component is not there, number 1. Number 2, it should not only be there, there should be capital outlay for that. Explicit capital outlay for human capital development is a must. Second, we feel about is that there should be a standardization and certification of skills. Unless that is there, the industry will not get the confidence, the workforce will not get the confidence, and we may get suboptimal or inefficient sort of a results or outcomes. That is what is required to be done. And third, we feel about that hands-on training is a must, and there should be sort of exposure to the labs, the plants and simulated systems, etc. Whatever we can do. If that part of training is done beforehand, then I think the workforce can become more productive and efficient. Now, in order to deliver this transformation, I think we have also suggested 4 enabling mechanisms. And the first one is about the workforce mandate in every mission. And therein, we want to say that there should be role counts, there should be apprenticeship ratios, and the training capacity targets. Just don't mention that human capital development is required. This is the capital outlay. There should be very specific numbers. And these numbers should come as based on the consultation with the industry, not in general, like from the drop of the hat or something like that. Second, I think the funding should be outcome linked. If the certified completions only are there, then only the funding should progress in that manner. There should be initial and seed funding, but I think the funding should be related to the certified completions. We also feel there should be a national skill dashboard where it provides a overall view of the sort of what is the requirement of the human resources, how much have been achieved, how much more we want to get on to, so that everybody knows that what is the skill requirement. And last but not the least, I think the faculty and trainer development is extremely important. Training of trainers is extremely important so that they can take it further. I think if all these sort of components are executed, I think the roadmap which we have suggested, we feel that it will serve the basis for further discussions, and the inputs from the industry experts and the industry associations and academia can take it further, and we can really sort of aim to develop a workforce which is really sort of meeting the needs of the emerging technologies. Thank you so much, and thanks to ICC for giving us the opportunity to work on this topic. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena. Now, I think, you see, this is what is very important, that the workforce that we have within any organization, technical or non-technical, financial, it needs to be upgraded and re-equipped. And I think it has to become part of our management culture, whether in the private or in the government sector. And secondly, whenever you come up with a new technology, ask yourself this question: would I put my money in this for its development? If I'm convinced, yes, then put it out. Because it's really a test of your own conscience and your own, am I willing to put my buck into it? Now, that is what I think we're going to ask the next speaker, because he's going to talk about a vision, that was a dream vision for somebody who started working in atomic energy department in 1989, and now he's talking of this technology. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your address. May I now request keynote address on clean energy technologies from Mr. Siddharth Durairanjan, Chairman and Managing Director, Halner Technologies Private Limited. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected gentlemen on the dais and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. The topic in itself has, I would say, paradoxical in nature. Across religions, if I talk energy is always implied positive. But we are today talking about using a term called clean energy before energy. I don't know. Energy was always clean. But yes, as you all know, that we are faced with the circumstances where I can proudly say that I will die of old age, but I'm not sure of the next generation. That's the pity of this ecosystem that we have built it ourselves. I'm proud to say that we've always looked at energy from different form factors. I feel that the room is very hot. I hope it is not because I'm carrying a nuclear fusion device in my pocket. So this is the size of my nuclear device, and I'm in the August gathering of Mr. Razdan, who's the 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 father in atomic physics. But if you really look at it, what I'm holding in my hand, I mean, as I was coming through the airport from Hyderabad to Mumbai, there was a talcum powder in my bag, and they asked me to throw it away. But they didn't find a nuclear reactor in my bag, and I just got it through. That's the beauty of this technology. And as Mr. Razdan rightly said, yes, I put my buck into it, every penny, that I believe that this is going to change the world. Because let me just step back and tell you what this technology is all about. Uh, we know that there are multiple ways of understanding. I mean, in school, I was an outstanding student. They never allowed me to sit inside. So the brilliance is I could never take anything for granted. And I asked questions which probably they had answers or they didn't want to give answers. They showed me the door. The fundamental question is, when you think fusion can happen, why do you always believe that fusion has to happen at 15 million degrees centigrade, that happens on the surface of sun or any other star? When you think you can split atoms and create fission, when you think that there is another way of creating energy without really destroying, so we're all thinking and we are all doing certain things in certain way because we are used to a certain defined knowledge base, which is our mind, which is our limit. Due regards to Mr. Saxena, knowledge is my biggest limitation. And if I have to innovate, I have to go out of my mind. My mind is my limited knowledge. So we question, why not fusion with hydrogen? And that's exactly what we did. The whole world calls it cold fusion. Cold fusion here because, I mean, it happens at 350 degrees centigrade. It's not cold enough, but it's controversial because people couldn't replicate, people couldn't make sure that they are able to come out with results in multiples. So I'll just give you the building blocks of it so that you're able to understand the beauty of the technology and appreciate that this can change our generation. And I guess we can preserve the generations to come as well. What I have is just a plane. This is a space grade reactor. That's why it's made out of aluminum, but we have the same in tantalum, titanium, and all the other materials. And I have a small nozzle to dose hydrogen in it. And that entire ecosystem is then heated by a simple heating element. And we have a nickel palladium mesh in it. Nickel mesh with a deposition of palladium. Palladium, why? Because it can absorb 900 times its mass of volume of hydrogen. And I'll spare all the scientific details, but this mixture of just 4-5 elements which you can buy it in any street in Mumbai or Hyderabad has led us to create fusion. So like my previous video went with, I mean, I'm just giving you a number. With 100 watts input, you are able to generate 180 watts output of thermal energy. Now with heat, you can then transfer it to any kind of, say, downstream application where you're using electricity to generate heat, or you can even convert that heat to electricity. And in net result, we are targeting 10 paise per unit as a cost of electricity from the fusion that we are doing. The heat is already generated less than 10 paise today. And that's the beauty of fusion. Now, I will just take the last 2 minutes to talk about why this is going to be so different. How do you ascertain that this is fusion? We believe that what is happening in sun is definitely happening at 15 million degrees, but there is a basis to it. There is a starting point. There is a big bang to it. And that big bang, we believe, is cold fusion. Now, how do I ascertain that it is indeed fusion? I'm sure most of you would have read the book Alchemy, or rather, The Alchemist. We have transmuted, we have created transmutation in our fusion reactors. We have created rare earth elements like yttrium. So if you look at the entire global ecosystem, there are only two words that are playing the dominance, or rather playing the havoc around. One is nuclear energy, and then second is the rare earth. And believe me, we have built both of them in my less than 500 square feet of lab in Hyderabad in Triple IT campus, with a team of, like Mr. Razdan rightly pointed out, my co-founders are Dr. Prahlad Ramarao, who's called the Missile Man of India, to my oldest scientist is a 25-year-old guy who can really beat the hell out of any nuclear technology. I understand that there is a skill that is definitely deficit in the entire ecosystem, but given the position that where we are, I remember the jokes as a school kid while I was growing. India was best to make a very interesting product made by somebody else, and then we used to put made in India stamp. But proudly, I'm saying that we have done this from Hyderabad, from India, the world's first positive nuclear fusion. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much for that exciting revelation. I think I can take you back to about 1990 or 91. And when cold fusion was one of the things being talked about. And my then director, Dr. P.K. Iyengar, was a believer in it. And so was Dr. Chinu Srinivasan. He was in Bath that time. But there was another parallel set of atomic experts who said this is all nonsense. And in fact, the journal Scientific American had, I think, in 1991 issue, I remember the words, the corpse of cold fusion has stopped twitching. So I think you need to call them back and show you that the man is well and alive and walking around. Thank you very much. I think we will now request the release of the
Yes.
knowledge paper by a very distinguished person here,
Yes.
the person who's heading the energy sector in Maharashtra.
Yes. So may I request Srimati Abha Shukla, IS, of course, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Energy, Government of Maharashtra, to kindly come on dais to launch the knowledge paper. With her, I would also request Mr. Kush Singh, Co-Chair, ICC National Expert Committee on Energy, to please come on dais. Mr. Amitesh Patanayak, Chief Sales Officer and Executive Director, Business Development, Sales and Proposals, Thyssen Group Ure India Private Limited, to come on stage. Dr. Raghavendra Rao Turlapti, Executive Head R&D and Covery, to kindly come on stage. Mr. Karthik T, Partner in Deloitte, to kindly come on dais. And Mr. Shama Prasad Manna, Managing Director, Positronics India, also to come on stage. May we have the knowledge paper presented to the guests on the dais, please?
Please, all of you come.
Can we have some good clicks on this? Can we have a round of applause also? Thanks to Terry for the knowledge paper. So we'll start the next panel discussion on looking into the next decade. May I request the earlier speakers to kindly take your seats in the audience. And a request to kindly bear with us, give us 4-5 minutes to arrange the stage. I request you to kindly stay in the hall. We'll just take 4 or 5 minutes to arrange the dais. Fast, please. No, this one is left. Labeling. Yes. May I request Mr. Kush Singh, Co-Chair ICC National Expert Committee on Energy, ICC, to kindly come on stage. He is the moderator, session moderator. Panelist on hydrogen derivatives, Mr. Amitesh Patanaik, Chief Sales Officer and Executive Director, Business Development, Sales and Proposals, Thyssen Group Ure India Private Limited. Panelist on catalytic conversion of waste to energy, Dr. Raghavendra Rao Turlapti, Executive Head R&D and Recovery, to kindly come on stage. Panelist on semiconductor landscape in India, Mr. Kathir T, partner in Deloitte. Panelist on plasma arc treatment of waste to energy, Mr. Shama Prasad Manna, Managing Director, Positronics India, to kindly come on stage. And Mr. Siddharth Durai Ranjan again, to kindly come on stage. This time you will be asked some questions by Mr. Kush Singh. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my proud privilege to be sitting in such an august gathering, both off and on the dais. So without cutting short all pleasantries, let's start with the session. Yeah. So as introduced by Serene, you are well aware of this highly qualified panel. And we have panel members on two different distinct technologies on waste to energy. It's the talk of the era, talk of the session. It will be a talk. It won't be a talk for future decades to come. It will be all implemented in future decades to come, with the kind of priority government is giving to utilization of waste into power, into hydrogen, into derivatives of hydrogen, then into oils, into water. And these two distinct technologies have been working like for the past 2-3 years. They have spent dedicated in the labs, and they have come up. They have now proven their technology by virtue of pilot plants, and they're on the verge of commercializing it. And once they throw light on their respective technologies, you'll be amazed to see what all can be done with waste, and how the concepts of waste treatment with respect to incineration or pyrolysis have all gone backstage. The whole headache of segregation, separation of waste, and all the money spent on that, the whole concept is gone. It's like waste coming from the household direct into the plant, converted. It's like that. So that's the place orbit they are both into with their respective technologies. But giving priority to and then we have Thyssen Group. Of course, they have been the pioneers of green hydrogen for decades to come in India. I think you have 70% of the Indian market, chemical market, with their alkaline electrolyzers. Nothing new. The only thing is that now with the emerging technologies and like honing up their technology, how cost competent they are with respect to the green hydrogen they're producing. Mr. Anitesh will throw light on that once we come to the discussion on hydrogen derivatives. But topmost priority I'll give today to the issue of national security. So with the semiconductor mission of India already launched, and India on giving topmost priority to developing a complete ecosystem of domestic ecosystem of semiconductors. The importance of having our own chips and the kind of national security issues associated with that, the kind of espionage threats we have. So why it is so important that we have, and what is the mission and what are our goals. So I would request Mr. Kathir to throw light on that and take us through the details of what exactly is the mission and what is significance and what are you planning to do for the next 10 years to come.
Yeah.
Mr. Kathir.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. As we are all talking about India Semiconductor Mission 1.0, actually, the primary focus is to develop the end-to-end ecosystem. But the most important part is, if you have to look at from a market perspective, India is currently about $55 billion of semiconductor market, which will grow to about 100 billion by 2030 and will double in next 5 years. By 2035, we will be about $200 billion market. The most important part is how much of this will be completely localized. And while the primary focus of the Semiconductor Mission 1.0 is on mature technologies or mature nodes about 28 nanometer, that itself covers about 70-80% of our demand. But even with about $20 billion investment in next 3 to 4 years, and we expect another $30 billion investment in the another 2 to 3 years kind of, between now and 2035, we would have about more than $50 to $60 billion investment in semiconductor. Even with that, we expect that the localization would be in the range of about 50-60% in semiconductor manufacturing. That means actually still there will be a significant import dependency, primarily on the higher end nodes or less than 10 nanometer. But the important part is we are on the journey, and we will be moving forward on the self-reliance part. But looking at, while we talk about 10 years, the important part is actually what will happen in the next 5 years. What are all the challenges and bold plays for the India? The key challenge for India is actually because we are starting on the semiconductor manufacturing, this ecosystem is very limited, or it is more or less an early stage actually. That's point number one. Point number two, actually, do we have necessary talent talent within India that can cater to even a growing industry? The third one is predominantly about some of those dimensions, like say, for example, whether we talk about the ecosystem, whether we have it, some of those early are initial part of the value chain as well as the design part of it actually. While there is a limited ecosystem or the early stage of ecosystem, there are gaps which would take significant amount of time for us to develop into. So these are all three key challenges. But what would be the immediate bold place? The number one point is actually, see, it will be a little, new for many of us to know that India hosts 20% of the global talent on semiconductor or chip design and chip engineering, and all of them are in India. And are we leveraging it to the extent possible? Do we have the first India fabless semiconductor company? Not yet actually, but that should be the focus. The immediate focus for India is that, okay, how we can develop the design ecosystem within India, moving from the engineering part to the research and development and chip design part of it. So that's a first bold play for India. The second one is, while if you look at the $25 billion investment that has been approved by the government, most of them are in OSAT and our ATMP, that the outsourced semiconductor assembly and testing. how we can accelerate that investment. And the most important part is actually the market for those portfolios within India actually. So as our electronics manufacturing grows from about, if I have to look at, we are around 200 billion now, would be around 600 billion by 2030. So there is a internal market demand, and the OSAT would be the supplier to this electronics manufacturing, how we can leverage the domestic market. So we need to accelerate investment in ATMP OSAT. The third one is on the compound semiconductor part. The most important part is compound semiconductor covers end-to-end ecosystem, starting from design to fab to say even the devices. But the investment is, compared to the semiconductor fab, it will be significantly low actually. So for example, I would say about 20% of your fab setting up. If you require $10 billion to set up a semiconductor fab, your compound semiconductor would require somewhere around 500 million to 1.5 billion. And the most important part is compound semiconductor applications are predominantly focusing on power, defense, and as well as high frequency communications, very critical from national security perspective. These are all the three important bold plays for India, what the current policy also significantly covers. From a next perspective, the focus should be on how we can cover the input part of the value chain, primarily semiconductor gases, chemicals, and input materials, as well as semiconductor equipment manufacturing. We expect that this will be addressed a targeted intervention similar to ISM 1.0. So ISM 2.0 will primarily focus on those aspects.
Lovely, sir. Excellent, sir. But then this whole Vikram chip done by ISRO, that gives it's a harbinger to the fact that we can develop our own chips and then design and then get into manufacturing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a starting point,
Yeah.
but the immediate focus is on the mature nodes, about 28 nanometer, covering about 70 to 80% of the market applications. While the focus would be on strategically critical areas, because the objective is self-reliance. Actually, we can't depend on for our space missions or our defense applications with latest geopolitical developments. We can't depend on import for those strategic requirements. With that in context, the focus should continue to be there. Importantly, those application doesn't require high-end nodes actually. It need not to be like 2 nanometer or 5 nanometer nodes are not required for those applications.
But with AI becoming an integral part of our life now, this whole semiconductor push is basically to back up that only. To
No,
fulfill-
absolutely. See, for example, as we discussed, actually, the government is working on the mission for supercomputing.
Yeah.
And they're also working on how we can make, say, the electronics manufacturing from 500 million to, say, 1 trillion by 2035. So with that in context, actually, there is a large domestic market which we need to cater to. And that provides the impetus for us to develop end-to-end manufacturing ecosystem for semiconductor. As I said, about $50 billion investment in about, say, 8 years or so, 6 to 8 years, that itself gives the scale for ecosystem development.
Absolutely. Absolutely true. Thank you so much, Mr. Khatir. So from national security perspective, now we shift to energy security. So we have two distinct panelists here. I'd first like to start with Dr. Raghavendra Rao. So he represents Enercovery. They claim, see, there was a myth that all waste to energy plants, they have not been successful because there's a huge mafia in waste. It takes out the plastic and what you're left with, hardly waste having any calorific value. He says, I don't need waste with any CV. You give me what is left, even say 100 CV or 200 CV, I'll give you power and get hydrogen out of it. So we'd like to hear from Dr. Rao. What does his technology throw light upon, how unique it is?
Thank
Mr.
you
Rao.
very much. Namaste. I hope everybody can hear me. Thank you. So this technology, what we are calling is a thermocatalytic conversion technology, is a very unique technology in the sense that it takes very less amount of energy to convert different waste materials into a high calorific value energy products. When we talk about the waste, what kind of waste we are talking about? We are not only talking about the domestic waste that comes out of our kitchens or a municipal solid waste. We're also talking about the industrial waste that comes from different workshops. We're also talking about the petroleum industry waste like the tank bottom sludge or the production testing facilities when they leave a lot of oil into the pits. That can be a good feedstock. And apart from that, we have the wastewater treatment plants. There's a lot of sludge that comes out of them. Even the sludge has got a high amount of organic material, and that can be converted into a valuable gas and organic carbon. And apart from that, today, we see a lot of biological processes that are taking place. Like for example, a biomethanation or a biocomposting plants. We see in the biogasification plants, there's a lot of PROM that is called the potassium-rich organic manure that comes out. It is a very difficult materials to handle, and it's very difficult to sell also to the farmers. So even that can be converted into gas and organic carbon. So essentially what we are saying is that any material, any waste material that is having hydrogen and carbon in the molecular structure is a good feedstock. And from that, we take it through a process that is called the thermocatalytic process. So what is the thermocatalytic process? It is nothing but you are actually heating the material and vaporizing these low volatiles or volatile materials in the waste and converting them into vapors. These vapors then they pass through a catalyst column, a specific catalyst column that has been specifically designed for this purpose and patented. And that through that actually there are certain functions that take place. And during this catalytic process, all the low-end hydrocarbon materials are converted into high-value hydrocarbon materials, and they come out as a very energy-rich products. And what are the energy-rich products we are talking about? We are talking about 4 products that are coming out of the waste conversion. The first product is a gas, and the gas has got a very high calorific value in the range of around 9,000 kilocalories, and it is almost like an LPG gas, which can be utilized for fine chemical manufacture or also for energy generation. The second product that comes out is a liquid hydrocarbon fuels in the range of gasoline to diesel with a high calorific value of around 10,800 kilocalories per kg. And that is actually another good fuel for generating electricity or for even the other applications, even for running the pump sets and etc. The third product that comes out is carbon. It's a very pure carbon that comes out of it. Carbon has got a tremendous potential for commercial applications, not only as a fuel in the thermal plants, but it's got other industrial applications like for the manufacture of graphite or carbon crucibles or wherever the carbon is utilized as an industrial product. This carbon goes as a product for the manufacture of the carbon products. And apart from all that, we got also water that comes out. See, any organic material, be it agricultural waste or municipal solid waste, there is an inherent moisture in that. The inherent moisture can vary from season to season. And in the hottest season in India, for example, the minimum moisture content that we will find in the waste is around 20 to 25%. And whereas in the monsoon season, the moisture content can go as high as 55%. So the process has been developed in such a way that it is suitable very much for India, where most of the waste that comes is mixed in nature. So we have to really worry about how do we do the segregation, how do we process it. After segregation, we separate the plastics out, then you take the organic material for a different process. In the thermocatalytic process, segregation is not required. That is the prime beauty of this system is that you do not require segregation. Let it be the waste, whatever the waste contain, it can contain organic material, it can contain kitchen waste, it can have textiles, it can have paper, it can have cardboard, it can have any material in there. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes the porcelain can go, nails, steel material can go into the process. They do not actually in any way create any negative situation for the process to happen. So whatever is the mix that is coming, you can convert that into an energy product. So what will happen to the ceramics and metals, etc., which are not convertible? They come out as they are. Like, if a nail goes in, nail comes out as a nail only. So that can be separated in a post-segregation system. So instead of having any pre-segregation to be done, what you do is only a post-segregation at the end of the process, which becomes your segregation system will become very compact and very easy to handle. And apart from that, the mixed waste, apart from the mixed waste, your high moisture content can also be handled in this process. So what we have come out with a system is a system that can take mixed waste and convert that into energy in the presence of high moisture. And apart from that, we're also using this process for industrial waste. Like, for example, I can give some examples in the Indian Railways. In their workshop in Bhubaneswar, they have been operating this unit for last 4 years. And where the feedstock is basically all the material that comes from a wagon that comes for a repair. In the railway coaches that come for repair, they have got the linoleum bottom linings. They got side boards with basically the laminated side boards. Then you got the resin covers. They got the cushions. Sometimes they got the coconut coir in them, and also they got high density, very high density, compact, I mean high compressive strength of polymers that go as shock absorbers into the system, and they got the wheel grease. And all of them, apart from along with their kitchen waste, they come into this unit, and all of them co-processes together. They are not separately processed. They are co-processed and they are converted into gas and oil, and the gas is being utilized for their kitchen, and the oil is sold to the Paradip port. So at any given process, what happens is that what is the economics of that? You know, whether you are giving certain amount of input, all right, but whether it is economically viable, this process has been proven to be economically viable and is very profitable. So this is basically the essential introduction about the process.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Rao. So next we come to Mr. Manar. Mr. Manar, he represents Positronics, and they're into another aspect of waste to molecule, waste to energy, waste to power, waste to gas technology, where they use plasma gasification. I request to Mr. Manar to throw light. And to tell you the sad part of these gatherings are required, these sessions are required to promote these technologies for Indian entrepreneurs to come take a step forward and invest at least in the pilot plant, so that at least they can be certain of the fact that the technology are working. Mr. Manar had to go all the way to Bangladesh to prove his technology. So, and the plant was proven. So I would request Mr. Manar to kindly throw light on his technology.
Thank you. The nice thing is the last one, what he said. I had been struggling with this particular technology, went to different institutes also, like to understand what exactly, how we can make it more efficient. Some or other, there was a gap. And then for last so many years, we had been struggling with different government bodies to convince them that this technology is really good. You go through 200, 300 papers, and we have done it, but we have done it on a very low scale. So where have we done a bigger scale one? So somebody has to give us the opportunity to make it in India, and it's a make in India product. Fine. This technology, most of the thing Dr. Raghavendra has already said. I mean, regarding the processing of the waste, collection of waste, type of waste, and but the technology is a bit different in the sense, like this hard plastic contains halogens, which are cancerous. This cannot be broken by any other thing, because we have to break the bond. And plasma technology is basically based on that. It produces high energy particle using the electric energy, and that bombards into all this waste, breaks the bond. After that, when the residue starts cooling down, the first formation is carbon monoxide and hydrogen, because they can sustain a very high temperature. And that is why these two gases come out. They are also having a high calorific value, because each of them is around 2,700 kilocalorie per normameter cube. So I get a fuel out of it. On top of that, whatever maybe having some aluminum foils and other things, very small residue, maybe less than 1%, that goes as a vitrified slag at the bottom. In fact, I will also sum up a few things that in what all cases this plasma technology is now venturing in. So this is one, like as he said, any kind of waste except possibly the building materials or metals, other things, because it will unnecessarily consume energy. But we can get rid of all these legacy waste dump yards. We can get rid of any kind of waste wherever we see the plastic loitering around everywhere in this world, rather India, I would say, everywhere in this country as well as other countries as well. But we should not call them as a waste. They are full of energy if we can really convert in the proper way. And this is not power intensive, because it can produce electricity for its own consumption, as well as it can export the electricity for your consumption. Next is, we are getting different demands from the customer, that can I get this, can I get that, after learning what is plasma. Like hydrogen, we have 50%, more or less 50% hydrogen in the gas, 50% carbon monoxide. If I can extract out with, okay, small amount of efficiency, extract out the hydrogen, it can really meet the requirement, whatever is the demand. Balanced gas can be utilized to produce the electricity for its own running, as well as some can even be left out to export. In fact, in Bangladesh, we are doing a project. We have already commissioned it. It's all in the Rohingya camp. They are generating huge amount of waste, huge. And you won't believe, if you go there, it is very pathetic out there. Anyway, they are collecting all those waste, and then they are segregating the plastic, because other thing they have already made for some other solid waste. But the plastic is being fed into the plasma, and that is creating electricity to give the power to this Rohingya society. So that is one thing. They are getting rid of all this toxic waste from there. People have approached for extraction of metal. As he said, a nail remains a nail in that, his technology. But in our case, you can get the metal out of it, like e-waste. It contains a lot of plastic and other material that vaporizes, that can produce electricity, and your nickel, lead, gold, silver, everything can come out from the bottom. People have given us the sample of simple ore, straightway ore. You extract the metal out of it. We have done partially, because we didn't give much of time on that, because there are so many orders and other inquiries flowing in from different parts. So we couldn't get much of time to explore that also. But anyway, this is what is the technology. And I think, yes, the last one again, I said, give us the opportunity in India so that we can really show it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manna. Thank you. We have the proper people here who will, of course, provide you an opportunity. You'll have an avalanche of inquiries. I'm very hopeful about it. I come to Mr. Anitesh ThyssenKrupp. So I would request Mr. Anitesh to throw light on hydrogen derivatives, their significance, and what ThyssenKrupp sees as future of hydrogen derivatives, their technical significance, their commercial significance, and how techno-commercially viable they would be.
Yeah. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, fellow panelists. So couple of points before I address the points raised by him is that among all these technologies and also the previous speakers, I am little odd man out, as you could see that I am not a pure technologist, although I represent a company who is a technology, which is a technology company. So that way, while I was hearing, this is a call, the chemical reactions and the composition and breaking of the bonds, etc. But anyway, I'll give a version of exactly the question that was raised. So we basically, before I come to the hydrogen derivatives and what it holds for India especially, ThyssenKrupp Uhde, basically we call it as a Uhde, and ThyssenKrupp Uhde is a more than 100 years old company based in Germany, of course, and the first ammonia technology was used in the year 1921. So that's the pedigree that this company holds in the fields of ammonia and urea. But over the period of time, right now, when we are talking about, and the technology, of course, the entire technology base is based out in Germany, in Dortmund, a place called Dortmund. And in India, the operation has started in 1965. So we represent, whether he said the electrolyzers, the electrolysis technology, or the ammonia, urea, or for example, nitric acid and ammonium nitrate and so on in the fertilizer sector, we represent the German technology in India with a good amount of market share. Now, coming to the green derivatives. So as he has already explained at the beginning of the session, ThyssenKrupp Uhde already has this electrolysis in the market since last maybe 50 years. And almost around 70% of this chloralkali, where electrolysis is the basis, is used, is of Uhde technology. Now, of course, after this energy transition or the green transition, or as you said, the clean energy transition, what Uhde has done is they have formed a different company, a dedicated company called Nucera, ThyssenKrupp Nucera, and that is especially taking care of the green hydrogen part of it. The electrolysis business, which was earlier part of Uhde, is now is called Nucera. Of course, the same company, but it's a sister company now. But we support them for the OSBL part and most importantly, the downstream part of it. That means whether it is green ammonia or green methanol or the ammonia storage tanks, and also ammonia cracking after you transfer the ammonia to the required place to convert back into hydrogen. So the entire gamut of technologies belong to Uday. That's the core technology that Uday has. So whether it is the green hydrogen, where the green hydrogen is taken and converted to ammonia, or further it is converted to methanol, or transportation, after transportation. So for example, in India, 70% of the ammonia storage tanks, right now it is green ammonia, but even the conventional ammonia tanks are all designed and built by Uday India. So that's the core competence of Uday India, which is built about 70% of these storage tanks. And then once this ammonia is transported, so for example, today in India, I don't have to speak, all of you are knowledgeable already about what this green ammonia market is talking about with the SECI tenders, which has opened up now. The prices, the gap between the gray and the green ammonia has now shrunk. 3 years back, the difference was approximately 60-65%. To today, the difference between the prices which we are seeing in the market in the reverse auctions is almost sunk to around 25-30%. And what the projection tells us that in the next 2 to 3 years, by 2030, probably this will be at par. This green, and that's the kind of vision that we are taking. And so we are talking about not only the green ammonia and methanol, but also when this ammonia is transported. As you know, normally all these big developers in India are making this green ammonia investment to transport it to various other European countries or to Japanese countries. And there again, this ammonia can be used directly for various uses, or can be cracked back to hydrogen. So we also have that technology where this ammonia can be broken down to hydrogen, and therefore this hydrogen also can be used for various purposes that we do. But in India right now, my perspective, our perspective, Uday's perspective is that while the green story had started maybe a couple of 3-4 years ago, this green hydrogen, and there was a little bit of sluggishness there. But right now, in the last 4 to 5 months, with the SECI tenders have been opened up, 13 different contracts have been awarded, etc. So we believe that this mandate by the government, and also the scheme, the incentive schemes which has been announced, I think is the right kind of catalyst that government is now taking. So mandating the fertilizer industry to partially replace the gray ammonia with green ammonia. And then, of course, the same developers will also now export the remaining ammonia to various countries. So I think going forward, we believe that the green ammonia market in India by 2030, as per the reports by MNRE and all that, so we are talking about almost 10 million tons of green ammonia capacity to be built in India. It's a very tall order because it also needs infrastructure, it also needs a lot of money, it also needs resources, workforce to build all that, convert that into that kind of capacity. But having said that, even few percentage of that being built in India, I think will probably take India to the vision that Government of India holds, to make India as the green ammonia hub, global green ammonia hub. That's the vision with which the government is working, and I think we are proud we are supporting that particular vision of India in providing technology-wise our support to the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. And with waste producing, they claim to produce hydrogen around $2.2 a kg, which is like with their zero net carbon, zero ecosystem, and zero effluent, which they claim, it's almost like near to green. So that is very cost competitive as compared to gray hydrogen. Blue, of course, will be expensive than that. So that would be another great boon in disguise to the whole hydrogen derivative industry. I'd just like to put my last question to Mr. Durai Raja. Given the fact that this cost of hydrogen is coming in the picture, what would your net power from hydrogen fusion be from the fusion reactor? On the statistical part, the cost economics part. Please.
I'm using the mic of the speaker, so I should make more sense now. Incidentally, the way the amount of hydrogen that I'm using in my reactors, the smallest one that I showed, and if I'm going to scale it up to a 1 megawatt, which would be the size of the stage, is less than the smallest reactor. I use 1.2 milligrams, and the 1 megawatt I'll hardly use less than 10 grams.
Oh.
So fusion has unlimited power. It's all about how we take it forward. And across the panel, I see entrepreneurs who are able to make waste as gold, and I see people who can generate heat source, which is plasma. And I think together here we are ensuring the national security in terms of energy. I think this is a very august panel out here.
So that's what I was like. The whole theme is national security, energy security, and food security. It's all put together. So you addressed all the aspects. So I would request any questions from the audience. We are running short of time, and we are all eager to. Investment security. Yeah, investment security. Yeah. But we are very eager to hear Madam Shukla, our chief guest.
Sir, in a country where we have so much of industrialization and so much of the community waste to be treated, when you talk about this question is specifically addressed to you. When you talk about a technology which is agnostic to a source which can be valorized, if I may use the word, because you said it's a thermocatalyst. What do you think is a limitation to this technology? Because it seems to me that you can probably take any type of waste, municipal waste. I didn't hear you say about agro waste, but probably you also said about industrial waste. But I would believe that, while there are technologies in place and they have been scaled up in India to meet these various types of waste, it would be wonderful to know if there's a unique technology which can take care of all the waste. But are there any limitations or challenges to its commercialization?
I think, Dr. Rao, you should throw light on the fact that how Sulabh International is after your life to redeem them of all their nonsense. Yeah.
That's a very good question. The limitations at this point of time are only the investments. Other than that, as far as the capacity is required, capacity building is required, that is not an issue. What happens is that when we are looking at the waste generation at source, we are talking about tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, small industry, MSMEs, different categories. So when you're looking at tier 1 cities, say for example, that are generating 800 tons, 1,000 tons, 2,000 tons, 6,000 tons, their investment requirement is going to be very high when you have to treat that kind of a waste. But there are also tier 2, tier 3 cities where the generation of waste is only between 10 tons to 50 tons, maybe 50 to 100 tons, where other technologies like incineration, etc., they will not become viable at all because they cannot handle less than 100 tons per day capacity. So you have to have a technology that can be able to process this small level to the highest level possible. So the technology has been geared to do that. We can actually do a 10 tons, we can do a 50 tons, or somebody has got only 40 tons, say for example, you can design the reactors for 40 tons. So it is specific need based. And as far as the limitations are concerned, the basic limitations at this point of time, when we are talking about the municipal solid waste in particular, is the collection and transportation. And even though the municipalities are trying to collect as much waste as possible, but 100% waste collection is never possible. So they need to collect it, then they go to a segregation stations where they do a little bit of preliminary segregation, then they send it, that's called the intermediate stations. From intermediate stations, they go to the landfills. Or maybe some other technology where they can actually do some processing. But worldwide, when you look at the waste, only 19 to 25% of the waste is actually processed and converted into something. 75% of the waste is still ends up in the landfills.
So your limitation is unsegregated waste.
Our limitation is not the unsegregated waste. Our limitation is basically getting the waste being delivered to the plant.
At the gate.
That is at the gate. That is the one.
That's so easily available in tier A and tier B.
Not really. When you look at the practical situation, it doesn't really happen that way. We have had a very big experience.
Barring that, no limitation to the technology.
Sorry?
Barring that, no limitation.
Barring that, there is no other limitation to the technology. No. As far as the industry is concerned, it's very organized. We know exactly how much waste comes and where it has to be deposited, where the plant is. It is easy to handle them.
So now Sulabh has been requesting them to
Sulabh has been
setting
requesting
the
us.
plant near the septic tank
Yes.
so that they convert it totally into cooking gas and carbon. That's it from all the manual waste.
Sir, it's a very pertinent question.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest, you see, that there are cities like Delhi, which the highest hillocks are waste. They're concentrated at one point. Why can't you move the government and say that you are willing to set up your plant just there? How much land would you require? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, so the land is not, I mean, basically, these are very compact plants. You do not require a very high footprint plants.
Yeah.
So what happens in cities like Delhi or Tier 1 cities, most of these contracts are given for the waste processing or waste collection, transportation, and long-term contracts. So if somebody is already processing, say they have already 20-year contract, out of which only 15 years are still further left in there. So for a new player to come into that and address that problem, it becomes a very major issue.
Nobody's processing. They're just collecting.
They're
see, now
collecting. That
Delhi,
is what it is. They are
Gurgaon,
collecting.
there's Faridabad, Mumbai, they're all full. I think if you put this thing out, please let the chamber know. They can shoot off a letter to these governments and say, what are you waiting for?
We have 6 LOIs waiting for technology which is cheaper than mass combustion, which is failed in India.
Yes.
Mark a classic example. So we are not talking about mass combustion.
No.
The best technology practiced globally and which is now also being set up and very successful is biomethanation. Okay. So if you have something which takes unsegregated places, what I heard you, and can replace, here is the source
Yes.
where you can just set it up, and I think we'll discuss it separately.
We will do that, yes.
In order to understand the economics.
Yes.
And to understand what could be the shortcomings
Yeah.
of this technology.
So when you mentioned about the biomethanation plants, for example,
Yes.
in the biomethanation plants, after the biological processes, there's a lot of residue that is left. It is typically called as potassium-rich organic manure, PROM. Now, if the biological reactions are perfect, then you tend to get maybe around, they're expected to get around 30% gas. But typically, on an average, we have seen only 12 to 16% gas is generated. That means another potential 14% gas is still left in the PROM. And that PROM, recovering that PROM from that and transferring it, you have to dry it, then you convert that into a menu, then you have to sell it to the farmers to do that. That becomes a very painful situation.
First of all, two things. Number one, efficiency of recovery is very high.
Yes.
In what you're saying. Example, Indore. Number two, there's an incentive by the government on PROM now.
Yes.
And there's an incentive on Satar, which is 83 rupees. There is an incentive on PROM. And there's also, as I said, a higher yield available with very affordable technologies.
Yeah.
So I think every technology has a place and a limitation. But as I heard you, I think the room or the market is too large. And as what Sir explained, there are mountains and mountains of waste waiting to be treated. And we are not still even talking about legacy waste.
See, they have the additional chief secretary, Energy, Maharashtra, with us today. I am willing, being a Pandit, I can just order a marriage here. That you go ahead.
And they are most welcome in.
You're most welcome here.
I mean, we are doing this in Mumbai now. We are setting up one of the plant in Devnar, which is on, biomethanation. And also one which is there at the present.
So for biomethanation, this becomes a complement,
And
actually.
both these technologies are based out of Mumbai only.
Yes.
They are both in Mumbai.
They can start working.
That's
See, the idea of having a chamber of commerce getting a meeting is that it must produce something,
Yes, yes.
Yes.
not only dialogue.
Some
To produce more than waste.
So, sir, with your permission, may I now request Honorable Madam Abha Shukla, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Energy, Government of Maharashtra, to kindly give the presidential address for the session.
So at the outset, I would like to thank Indian Chamber of Commerce for inviting me here. In the Green Tech and Energy Forum of the Global Business Summit. My personal thanks to Mr. Rajdan the chair of ICC's National Expert Committee on Energy. I have very fond memories of working with Mr. Rajdan in Delhi some 10 to 12 years back. Oh, yes, sir. You are right. Okay, so yeah, 2008 we worked together. When we start talking about energy sector, actually we have to start with the vision which has been given by our Honorable Prime Minister. He declared these goals which are to be met in energy sector, especially in green energy sector, in COP 26, where he said that India has to achieve net zero target by 2070. We have to source 50% of energy from renewable sources by 2030. We have to have installation of 500 gigawatts of renewable by 2030, and reduction in carbon emission was another announcement. But after that, global political scenario has changed very fast. And consequently, industrial as well as trade related landscape has also changed very fast. The fastest changing landscape is in energy sector after the changes in global political scenario, because energy is the basis of all the development in industries and trade. But when we talk about the being the winner, we have to go by that old saying that survival of the fittest. So we have to be fittest if we really want to survive in the changed global scenario. And we have to be fittest, we have to talk about newer and advanced technology. And as you know, most of the panelists were indicating what are the challenges when we go for these advanced technologies. Initially, I think cost effectiveness is the biggest challenge. Although here it has been told that the difference between the costing of green energy, green hydrogen and gray hydrogen is now 25 to 30%. Oh, okay. Green ammonia versus gray ammonia. Okay. But what we are experiencing after announcing a very attractive green hydrogen policy in Maharashtra, where we have announced 30% capex subsidy, we are realizing that developers are actually not coming forward so easily. They have their fears. And all the newer technologies, all the new areas, I think, come forward with all those challenges. It is very difficult to mobilize finances initially, and therefore there is small scale deployment. Since the cost is very high, I think affordability is a bigger issue for all the utilities in the energy sector. So in view of all this, in fact, we can say that there are three major instruments or three major agencies which have a major role to play: governments, regulators, and banking institutions, financing institutions. I have never stepped into the shoes of regulator or financing institutions, so I would just restrict my views about it as a government executive, whatever we have experienced here. I would like to share those experiences here. We have achieved some success in advancing to the targets which have been decided by Honorable Prime Minister. He always talks about Viksit Bharat. And our model of basically energy transition is completely aligned with the vision of Honorable Prime Minister. There should be sustainability, technology advancement, and economic development. It should be inclusive growth. There should be rural empowerment. And in view of all this, in fact, we have started writing the story of energy transition in Maharashtra. India is the fastest growing economy. And amongst Indian states, Maharashtra is the fastest growing economy. And therefore, many a times, we get a chance to write the first chapter of any growth story. So we have been trying to do that in energy sector in the past 3-4 years. In fact, we have decided our vision, which is completely aligned with the vision of Vikasit Bharat of Honorable Prime Minister. So we decided, when we decided the vision of Maharashtra, we decided that we will be leader in 5 areas related to energy transition, resource adequacy planning, fastest capacity addition. We wanted to be innovation leaders in agriculture solarization and storage systems. And through this, we wanted to facilitate investment of more than 3 lakh crores in energy sector in Maharashtra. So when I talk about resource adequacy planning, which was also taking care of the energy transition goals of India, we realized we have finalized the blueprint of resource adequacy and energy transition for Maharashtra. We realized that always the growth rate of energy demand is commensurate with the economic growth rate. So last decade, it was comparatively less. Here, our chief minister is talking about becoming a $1 trillion economy by 2030. And therefore, our growth rate will be higher than whatever CA has decided, which was in the range of 4.5%. We realize that it will be around 6.3% or so. Today, we are using 185,000 million units, and it is going to grow to around 280,000 million units by 2030. Today, our peak demand is just 30 gigawatt, which is going to grow to 45 gigawatt, where we have to source 50% of energy from renewable sources. So I'm happy to share this piece of information with you that we have not only achieved our first goal of preparing a blueprint of resource adequacy and energy transition, but we have also achieved the second goal, that is fastest capacity addition, considering the requirement of renewable sources by 2030. In the last 76 years, from independence to 2022, Maharashtra had a commissioned capacity of 40 gigawatt of energy. And in the past 3 years, we have contracted another 43 gigawatts of energy. Out of this, 36 gigawatt is going to come from renewable sources only. So this was the second goal which was achieved by Maharashtra. All the tenders are done. capacity has been tied up, PPAs have been signed, and timetables have been given how it is going to be commissioned on an yearly basis. So this integrated plan actually considers all the challenges which we have been facing in Maharashtra. There are transmission challenges. Transmission network is today, it is overloaded. So energy is available, but we are unable to provide energy to certain parts of Maharashtra as per requirement because of constraints in the transmission network. Almost 35% of our thermal fleet is more than 30 years old. And I think with the climate change issues, even peaks are going to go higher. So while doing all this, we considered all these challenges, and we did not prepare the energy resource adequacy plan only for absolute energy, which is required for Maharashtra state, but we prepared a plan for transmission network as well, because we realize that modernization of transmission network is a big challenge which one has to meet if we have to be ready for injection of RE as per the given targets. So that was one area. In fact, people say that in distributed solar deployment, one of our successful schemes, which now is working well, is Mukhyamantri Saur Krishi Vahini Yojana, which is another form of PM Kusum, where we are deploying solar energy near the farms, within the vicinity of the farms, so that we could reduce the AT&C losses also, and we could provide daytime power supply to our farmers. So when I talk about the deployment of these distributed solar plants, I think we realized that agriculture sector was the biggest challenge in Maharashtra. 30% of energy requirement is coming from agriculture sector. It is highly subsidized. 16,000 megawatt is given to agriculture sector itself. Agriculture sector is the main reason of our revenue losses. And still we are unable to provide daytime power supply to our farmers, because the demand is so high that we have to provide 50% supply is given during the night time. And therefore, this was a major demand of rural area. When we talk about rural empowerment, I think this is the basic which we have to fulfill. Daytime power supply to the farmers. When we talk about any project or scheme, I think most of the time, as Mr. Rajdan said, that first you should ask yourself this question, whether you are going to put your money into it. I think we are very wary of private sector, or sometimes listening to the stakeholders. There should be a healthy stakeholder consultation while deciding our plans, our projects. And this was the biggest learning when we started our solar deployment of distributed solar deployment. We realized that this scheme has been going on for a long time. In Maharashtra, it started in 2017, and in 7-8 years, we could deploy hardly 500 megawatt of energy. So if we go by this pace, I think even 50 or 100 years will not suffice. So we knew that we needed to do something. We had a stakeholder consultation. Then we went for complete process re-engineering and redesigning of the scheme. We tagged it with the Kusum. And when we spoke to stakeholders, we realized there were several challenges. For example, small size of projects. PM Kusum, by the way, I would say that it did not succeed at a large scale, especially PM Kusum C, in any of the states since 2019. Maybe I think at the state level, we required some custom-made solutions, and sometimes we don't do that. But we try to do that in Maharashtra. So we realized that there were small size of projects and people were finding it very difficult. Small developers were finding it difficult to invest in those small size projects. There was unavailability of land. There was cumbersome process of getting NOCs. So one of the developers told me that the implementation period is 18 months, but we don't get all the NOCs in 18 months. The time taken to get all the NOCs is more than 24 months because they have to go from pillar to post to get all the NOCs. Apart from that, there was unavailability of required data, the biggest challenge. They have to work in dark. Most of the developers have to work in dark. Then payment security is another challenge. Then unfriendly attitude towards private developers is another thing which we thought is a challenge. And after considering all these challenges, we redesigned the whole process and we came up with a second version of Mukhyamantri Saur Krishi Vahini, which was tagged with PM Kusum. In fact, we realized that whatever solutions we give should be scalable, inclusive, and innovative at the same time. So we adopted a cluster-based approach. There were sizable projects for investors to invest. We made some policy interventions. I think policy interventions are the most important things which governments can do. We decided that wherever there is fallow land available, we are going to provide that land. And we did not only decided this, but from government side, we identified 40,000 acres of land within 3 months timeline, and we provided for this project. Apart from that, we also brought in land lease incentives wherever private farmers are ready to provide their land. I think that kind of incentive which is given to farmers is also very attractive. There were risk mitigation measures. There was a data bank which was providing all the advanced NOCs, advanced grid connectivity and everything. And in fact, our target was, which was decided by the state, was just 4,000 megawatt. We thought first 2 years we are going to focus on 4,000 megawatt and then in phases we will increase it. But there was overwhelming response of developers. And finally, we have given letter of award for whole 16,000 megawatt of solar for agriculture sector. So in my opinion, if we go for innovative solutions also, technology is one piece of it, but administrative innovation is very, very important piece of that. So as a result of all these efforts, Maharashtra is the only state where we are able to reduce tariffs all across the consumer categories in the next 5 years. That has already been decided in the MYT petition. We could do away with the cross subsidy burden of 13,000 crores on industries. And we did not do only this, but apart from this, we have also taken lead in deployment of off-grid solar pumps. Because there are these two challenges. One is already whatever pumps are available there, we have to solarize the feeders. But henceforth, we decided that as a policy, whatever is the demand of pump, we are going to provide solar pumps henceforth. So as on date, whatever we have done in the past 3 years, in fact, in the past just 1.5 years, we have deployed 5 lakh solar pumps in Maharashtra. As on date, in the whole of country, 10 lakh solar pumps are installed and 7 lakh belong to Maharashtra. So almost 70% of solar pumps are installed in Maharashtra. Rooftop solar, also Maharashtra is taking lead in that. So in my opinion, if we come up with innovative solutions in technology as well as in administration, I think deployment of technology becomes easier and it finally benefits the public. Mr. Manna rightly said that it becomes very difficult to convince the governments and you have to go from pillar to post to convince the governments. But yes, if we could, as Mr. Rajdan said, that if we could meet in such forums and there is some tangible outcome at the end of it, I think that will be a win-win solution for everyone. So with these words, I will close my closing remarks with a hope that people now will understand that Maharashtra is a very, very attractive destination for investment in the past, in the next 5-7 years. Because in energy sector, so much is going on. We have taken a number of projects under TBCB, and I mean, this is the most attractive destination, so people should come forward. Those who are providing technology, as was mentioned, I think you are most welcome in Maharashtra, and I'm ready to coordinate and take it forward. I think this would be success of this session if we could do that. So thank you so much. Thanks so much again for inviting me here. Thank you.
May I request Razdan sir to kindly felicitate all the guests, speaker guests to on the dais for the forum today. So
Very much. I told her when she came to request me that if she provides the felicitation material, my wallet may not be enough.
So for Madam Abha Shukla.
Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. A.K. Saxena, can you just come on stage? Can we have the, yes. Mr. Siddharth Durai Rajan. Mr. Anitesh Patanaik. Dr. Raghavendra Rao Turlapti. Mr. Kather T. And Mr. Shama Prasad Manna.
But I can only say Successful if some business deals can be struck. And I would urge anyone of you here to seek an appointment with her and
Sure.
please inform the chamber if you're able to sign up something.
Most welcome.
We request concluding remarks from Kush Singh, sir, please.
Honorable Chief Guest, Madam Shukla, dignitaries on the dais, Rajdhan Sahab, ladies and gentlemen, it's my proud privilege to conclude this session. It was quite enlightening. And what I believe from here is that Maharashtra would give an opportunity to each of the waste technologies to at least set up a 100-ton per day pilot plant at the landfill to start with. And maybe some of the solar pumps could be given an alternate power from Mr. Dorai Rajan's fusion reactor. And another 1 lakh could be set up at 10 paisa per kilowatt hour. It will only benefit Madam Shukla in a big way. So, and the government of Maharashtra, and make them further leaders in the whole initiative program of Government of India. So I thank all of you, and it has been a very enlightening session. And we are proud as Chamber of Commerce will convert all this into commercial deals so that these technologies can be established on ground and scaled up in a commercial way. Thank you very much, everyone.